Hello, my name is Tom Stiles, and this is Tom's Radio Room Show number 307. Today I'm going to show you a book I just recently got. It was purchased from Amazon via a credit I got on Amazon from one of my subscribers. And the book is, I've been looking at this book for a while, and the thing is with books, you look on Amazon, you really can't tell whether it's going to be a good book or not. I mean, even though they let you preview some of the pages sometimes, it really doesn't tell you the full story. So anyway, it seemed like this was going to be a good book, and we will see what you think. Anyway, the name of the book is Are You Radio Prepared by Brad Smith. Now this was, whoops, I keep kicking the camera. Doesn't help much, does it? This was copyrighted 2012. So it's fairly recent. It is, let's see, about 70 pages. And it's pretty big text. So it's not a big book, but it does have a lot of the basic information you need when you're getting prepared for an emergency, for instance. And I'm going to let you decide whether you like the book or not. I'm not going to give it a score or a thumbs up or thumbs down. So anyway, let's go into what's in the book. Okay, first there's an introduction, and it talks about things you need to do in the event of an emergency. And it says that, this book is going to tell you some of the things you need to do in preparation for an emergency and in what to do during an emergency. Okay? So that's kind of the introduction. The first chapter is about local news and information. And it tells you how you can keep abreast of local news and information in an emergency situation. Now, what that means, to me, means that you have lost power. So that's an emergency. You've lost power, and you've got to find, your TV doesn't work, your internet doesn't work, so you've got to find another means of finding out what's going on around you. What you should do, where you should go, for shelters and stuff like that, who you can call for aid. And it talks about things that I've mentioned, which is, and here's a picture of one, emergency radios, like the Eaton line that I've showed on several of my shows, showed several of those radios. This particular one is the FR360. And the advantage of these Eaton emergency radios is that most of them have this crank dyno charger, so that if your batteries have died on you, you can get power by cranking this thing and charging the internal battery so that the radio will work. And in some of these radios, it will provide an output, a USB output, so that you can try to charge your cell phone in case your cell phone now has died because you haven't had power to connect your charger up. And then it goes into where do you get weather information using these emergency radios, specifically from the NOAA weather channels. And it gives you step-by-step instructions of how to use your radio, basically. So that's kind of cool. And it's using this FR360 as an example. And then it shows another radio, which is the FR600, which has, you can set it up for the SAME county alert system, and how to do that. Step-by-step instructions, again, how to do that. Again, this is kind of one of those books that if you've never, for instance, possibly a lot of shortwave listeners and hams have never used this same technology, so they might not be familiar with it, even though they know how to build a radio. So this gives you step-by-step instructions of how to do that. And then it talks about emergency bands in the regular AM communication band, what frequencies. Okay. Then it talks a little bit about scanners, that you can listen in on public utilities, so you can hear what's going on. Quite often not quite often, but when I lose power at my house, I have my scanner set up so that I can hear the communications of the power companies out trying to get power restored, and I can get a little inside information of, are they coming to my area? Do they know that we don't have power? How overloaded they are, which is typically, I hate to say this, that is a problem. They get overloaded in a hurry, and sometimes a simple repair to a power line or something might take a week to get to you, even on simple small storms. That's what happened to us. We had a small storm with wind about 50 to 60 miles per hour gust, and it knocked a limb down, and apparently it knocked a lot of limbs down because it took them almost a week to get to us. So we were without power for a week. Then it goes into worldwide news information, talking about shortwave radio, what you can listen to on shortwave radio as far as broadcast. And then it kind of talks about general shortwave listening in general, about the international meter bands, what they are. There's a listing of the bands. A lot of general information, of which, of course, you could find on the internet, providing you had internet access. But if you didn't, if you had this book, you'd have access to it. So I'm not ready to give up on hard copy books myself, especially reference books. Okay. Let's see what else. Two-way communications. Now, this chapter is about having two-way communications with your friends and relatives. And this particular chapter talks about how doing it license-free. Some radios that are available that you can do that license-free. And it talks about the types of radios, and for instance, the FRS, the Family Radio Service, the GMRS, the General Mobile Radio Service, and tells you, in the case of GMRS, that you do have to pay for a license. I don't believe you have to take any test or anything, but you do have to buy a license to legally transmit on that band. And then it talks about the radios. Here it is. This is the MURS radio in depth and what that's all about. Okay, going to go move along. Here it shows you an antenna, base antenna, that you can use this to increase your range. Here's a mobile antenna. And I keep bumping the darn camera. Okay, now Chapter 5, it gives you a little introduction into ham radio. And the thing about ham radio is that you can use radios that have more power output. So you can theoretically get your signal out further, and vice versa. You can receive signals that are further out. I'm talking beyond 5 miles. And it talks about, what it takes to get a license, how you get a license, and how you quit kicking the camera. Sorry about that. talks about repeaters, talks about the various bands. So out of general information, again, you know, it's all this stuff's available on the internet, but it's nice to have it in one concise book. And then here's a specific chapter, how to obtain your license. You know, what do you have to do? Hey, take an exam. How do you study for the exam? Who gives it? Then chapter 7, now that if you've gotten your license, it talks about one of these handheld radios that you can buy for, you know, pretty low price. I've mentioned the Bofang and done some reviews on the Bofang, which is about $35. Doesn't mention the Bofang, but it mentions one that's more expensive, and shows you how to program it. And then I think this is the last chapter, it talks about having this is kind of strange, having a low-powered FM radio station so that you can inform your neighbors what's going on. And if you have this book and you've set up your stations, you could then broadcast on FM to your neighborhood only, low power, and provide them with the information that you're getting from your other radios, and tells you about what antennas you should get. I think that's the last chapter. And then there's an appendix with a whole bunch of websites you can go to for additional information. So that's the book. I personally think it's a good book, but I'm really going to leave it up to you. Now, I thought I said I wasn't going to give it a rating. I'm not going to give it a rating. I just say it's a good book. What was I going to say? Oh, I was going to say that you can get this off of Amazon, and you can get it in two forms. You can get it in a hard copy like this, or you can get it in an ebook form for a lot cheaper. I think this book is like $7.90. I think it's on my Amazon store if you're interested, and I think it's like $2 something for the ebook. I prefer the hard copy because, again, I want something that when the power's gone, I can go look in this manual and see how to do various things if I've forgotten or if I just didn't know. Plus, it's good to read this ahead of time, to be prepared. So that's the thing. Are you radio prepared? So anyway, that's my review of this little book. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. Thank you for all that have subscribed. And we'll say bye-bye.